Nelson L. Moody Sr. As always, I'd like to recap our last show for last week. Last week we had Mr. Anthony Dean, who is also an author of a book called Seven Words That You Should Know, with Dad's Advice for the Journey Ahead. And as he left the show, he was trying to get callers to call in so he can get a free download version of his book. I do have with me three downloads. So sometime throughout this broadcast, I will ask callers if you would like to have one to call in. The first caller who decided to call in, I need you to know what the 7 words were. The second caller who calls in, I want you to know why he wrote the book. So there's 2 questions right there. First, I need the first caller to answer what was the 7 words that you should know. The second caller, why he wrote the book. Okay? And we want to ask, fathers, if you had the opportunity and a chance to visit your child or children, and there was nothing, no one blocking you from seeing your child or children or calling, prayerfully you had the opportunity to get through and do that. If you didn't, I want to know why. My today's guest is somebody who we're going to talk about today. We've been on the phone about the last 2 days. We've been talking a lot. As you know that once I get a guest, I like to get to know them more than just a guest. I like to know some more information so I can do all my homework. And she is from Savannah, Georgia. She traveled throughout, I guess, the eastern part of the United States, and she spent 13 years in Washington, D.C. So my D.C. folks over there in Maryland and Virginia. Yeah. She came back to Savannah, and then she came back to Atlanta. She's vibrant. V Speak Life is a sincere servant leader whose message is to speak life, not strife. That's right. Speak life, not strife. We're going to talk about that a little bit later because that right there, that's powerful within itself. Whose message is to speak life. I keep saying that. She's a former science and math educator. She's equipped with over 2 decades of combined professional experience, enhancing the lives of youth and families. She's now developing chemistry showing domestic violence survivors and how to thrive and gain positive self-awareness, growth, and empowerment. As the founder of Executive Director of Shifted Masterpiece Incorporated, a nonprofit that serves and supports domestic violence survivors, families, and at-risk youth. V is poised to be a change in the agency. Strife. I'm going back to that word again. Speak life and not strife. Better? Right. And she has a global motto of the more we speak life, the more we will see positive outcomes manifest.
That's
I like
right.
the word manifest.
That's right.
I love that. I'm going to introduce you some and going to present to others. We have Miss V Speak Life.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for showing up and coming in this terrible rainy day today.
I'm happy to be here, so thank you for having me.
She is such a beautiful spirited person. For those who know her, since I've known her, I fell in love with her. She has a beautiful, infectious smile and a beautiful, infectious laugh. So, I mean, if y'all hear laughing throughout the show, it's because I pulled it out of her. We're going to talk about the fatherhood issue at hand. But before we go there, we had a call on prior to the show. Ms. Smalls, are you still there?
Yes, I'm still here.
Yes, this is Tracy Smalls. By the way, I looked at your information. I shot that friend request to you, so you and I will be talking after the show is over, because you got some information that caught my eye as well. But you're here to talk to V. Let's go ahead and talk to her.
How are you today, V?
I'm fantastic. How are you, Ms. Smalls?
Wonderful. I wanted to at least call in and, be of support to you and just kind of that you know that I am your backbone and what it is that you look to do, not just now, but in the near future as well. I want you to always know that you have a team player and that, when we have one or two or more, then magnificent, powerful,
Yes.
and powerless things can happen.
That's right, Tracy. I love it. Thank you so much for calling, Tracy. You don't
You're wel-
know how much I appreciate that. You meet a lot of people, you encounter
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people in your day to day routine, and you also encounter people that you've known for a lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
Tracy is one of those persons that I've met in the time that I've been here in Atlanta, and the friendship is one that I absolutely cherish because she does exactly what she just said. She's a supporter. If I put something out, she's going to share it. If I do anything else, she's going to share it, and vice versa. We are doing what we're supposed to do and called to do
Mm-hmm.
and be one with one another, agree with one another, love one another, but
Okay.
also be
Yeah.
supportive of each other as friends. So I really appreciate that.
Wow, Tracy, I'm going to put you to a test. I need a cheesecake. Can you make that happen?
I'll make it happen. Hey, I'm not a baker, but I'll make sure that it's happened.
Make sure it happens.
She is
Thank you.
she is absolutely resourceful, and she will find out who's going to make that cake for you. She'll have it for you after the show.
Exactly. I'll make sure that it happens and get it to you.
That's right.
Thank you, Tracy. So I'm going to reach out to you a little bit later.
Sounds great.
Thank you. Again, the call
You're
number.
welcome.
Thanks, Tracy.
Again, the caller number is 470-251-4343. We're going to talk to our guest about her dad, her father, and her experiences with her dad, because International Fathers, in case you're tuning in for the very first time, which it should be your 8th or 9th time. We like to empower and inspire and give all the positive things about fathers and their children internationally throughout the world, all four corners of the globe, no matter who you are or what you are, your ethnic background, your wealth or educational status. We just want to highlight and uplift those fathers. And we're going to hear a little bit from Miss V here about her dad, what he meant to her, and
Oh,
all
wow.
that good stuff.
Wow, that's excellent. My dad was everything.
Everything.
My dad was everything. He taught me many values. He's very wise. There was an age gap between my mother and father, but those years were important because I have a lot of old school values in
Got you.
myself, but I get that from my father. And any parent that is going through life, they go through different cycles, and you've seen commercials, you've seen parodies about how the first child is treated compared to the last child. Well, so you can only imagine, because I'm the youngest of 6, and I think he made most of his mistakes with my older siblings.
Got you.
So when it came to me, I think he did what he could to perfect his craft as a father. But he was there for me. I played basketball, and I was in the high school band. He was at every game. Every game.
Okay.
Every game, and one of my biggest fans. When I graduated from college, my father went to every last one of my teachers, from pre-K all the way through high school. So that's all of the middle school teachers and all of the high school teachers. He
Okay.
captured a signature and well wishes to me. He went to every last one of them before or as I graduated from college, and yeah, he did that just for me. So you can only imagine how I felt about him, and of course how he felt about me. He wanted me to know that I was the apple in his eye, and also one that he wanted to do the right thing by. Maybe he didn't make the right or best choices as a parent, as a father, with my older siblings again. However, with me, he did what he could to be a big and major part of my life, and I am absolutely forever grateful for that, because he taught me so much.
Wow, that was a mouthful. I want to elaborate on a couple of those things because I fit in that same category. Number one, you about probably the 1 trillionth person that just blew the myth about fathers not being involved in their children's lives. Okay, your dad was there in the educational system from pre-K to college.
Yes.
So that myth is out the window.
Yes.
I already knew it was gone.
Yes.
It's just some people in society tend to think that dads are not there for some other reasons, for some unfortunate circumstances, some people's lives. That may be the case. You also mentioned about the first and the second child. I'm a young,
Yeah.
I mean not young. I'm a middle child.
Oh.
Okay, we get left out of everything.
Yeah. Sorry. No.
Yeah. The older child gets everything because he or she is the first.
Yes.
And then that last child, the baby child, oh, this, that, oh, boo, boo. But that middle child, and I have a lot of friends who are middle children, and we all can relate. We get left out of everything. That first child and that last child. However, the flip side of that is a lot of times that middle child end up being the most mature one.
Yes.
And you said something else about him with the older children and then coming down to you. I have two sets of children too. I have grown children, I have changing life babies. And they know why I call them that. Whereas though it was new to me before my first children.
Okay.
So by the time the changing life babies came, I mean, I knew a whole lot more than what I knew when I was a beginner father.
Okay.
However, throughout my whole life, my career of being a father, I've mastered it. I believe, based upon my children and what things may say, that I am probably one of the best dads this side of heaven.
All right. Let's give it up.
You know,
Ding.
I like that. You know, and for me, it's not a thing of being there in a child's life here or there.
Yes.
I'm in my children's life constantly and consistently. And I've said this to people. I believe I mentioned it to you too, that when I'm 114 years old, on my obituary, Nelson Moody Sr. did right by his shoulder.
Wow.
That's all you need to know about me.
Wow.
And then my children should be able to validate that, and also people who know about me should also be able to do the same thing. Again, the calling number is 470-251-4343. And as I said, the first two callers who call in to the show that can talk about last week's guest, Mr. Anthony Dean, what the 7 words was to his book, and also why he wrote the book. I have a free download for you, courtesy of Mr. Anthony Dean. And if he's listening, Anthony Dean, come on and chime in. Back to Miss V now. The apple of your dad's eye was you.
Well, I have other siblings. That's what I say.
Okay.
That's how he made me feel.
I'm going to talk about you now because
Okay.
I'm getting ready to go somewhere with that. If you had that same smile and that laugh that you have now that you had then, I wouldn't blame him. And let y'all know that her laugh is so sweet, sincere. It's I can't find a word to describe it yet.
Okay, thank you.
But the smile is definitely infectious. And if you're having a bad day right now or had one, especially here in Atlanta with all this rain, if you're watching this show, just look at her. Don't look at me.
That's so sweet.
Look at her.
Thank you.
You also an author
Yes.
about a book.
Yes.
I'm an author myself. And authors are very creative. I love authors, directors, producers, and actors. We all can make people out of people and all that good stuff like that. And as authors, we can bring characters to life.
Yes.
Now, you have a book that's coming out. I'm getting ready to let her talk about this book. I just want you to just listen to it and just marinate on what she's saying about this book.
Okay. So the title of the book is Shifted Masterpiece, a story of love and horror in Savannah, Georgia. So the story is about a woman who finds love, about a man who is trying to understand himself and begins to unleash different things within himself, and it plays out as a bit of a mystery and also a death experience or a near-death experience. So we marry all those things, love, horror, and death, all in one book.
Wow.
And it is based on a true story. It's based on a true story that happened in Savannah, Georgia.
Okay, you'd like to elaborate a little bit on the true story?
It's a story about me.
Okay.
I am the main character of the book, and I share some experiences that I've had in a love, romance, marriage, and I share a great bit of information in hopes to help anyone that's been through a personal storm, anyone that has ever experienced a near-death experience, anyone that has experienced marriage, anyone that has ever experienced or has been a friend to someone inside of a marriage.
Okay.
A lot of things I share that were personal for me, I share in the book.
Okay, so for that person listening, I'm gonna say person because your book it could probably be a male character, main character as well.
It could flip.
Okay. Because there's so many people going through that issue, and again, like I said earlier, her word is to speak life.
That's right.
And not strife. And I mentioned also the thing of domestic violence.
Yes.
Domestic violence affects people in different ways.
Exactly.
You have some people who are into relationships, seem to stay in domestic violence relationships, and you may have other people who don't know why they stay in them relationships. Now, I don't know if this is in your book, but a question that I've always had is, why would somebody stay in it that long of a time, number one? But I've also had people who have told me that it's not as easy to get out as people think it is.
Those are two very loaded questions. So we have an hour, so I
Okay.
have time to answer.
Okay.
The first question repeated, it was, why would you stay? Now, one thing that I would like to share is that 1 in 4 women,
Okay.
we can start with women, 1 in 4 women are impacted, or they suffered or have suffered or experienced domestic violence in their lifetime. At least at one point in their lifetime. That's 1 in 4. So in the room or in the studio with us right now, there are exactly 4 women. I know I'm the one in 4. I don't know if anyone else has
Okay.
experienced that, but that's the statistic. Now, the other part, or flip side of it, is that it impacts men as well. Men may not be as vocal about domestic violence or having been on the brunt end of
Okay.
the receiving end of it. They may not be as vocal, however, they do experience it.
Okay.
And they just may not share it as often. So the statistic for that, I think, is 1 in 7 men would have experienced domestic violence. And it could be, it can vary. So, you know, the old saying, or, you know, men aren't supposed to hit women.
Right.
So if
Right.
the man is on the receiving end of it, he's not going to hit a woman because that was what was that's
Taught,
his training.
right.
He was taught that from day one from a boy. He was taught that you should not hit girls,
Right.
and it grows to, you know, you should not hit women. For the woman, that is a little different. We're not taught, oh, a man should not hit you. We're taught that now because we're doing more to vocalize different things that go on in the home. You have movies like The Color Purple and The Burning Bed, things that I saw, you know, growing up as a child. Those movies were there to give us some insight into domestic violence. flip side of it, though, that's something, oh, that happened to them. And yeah, it's a movie. We're
Okay.
not going to worry or
Okay.
talk about
Okay.
that because it's a movie. But the
Right.
reality is that it's a real life experience that 1 in 4, again, women experience. And with that, what we want to do is shed light on the awareness piece and then move into prevention. Now that you know that this is a phenomenon,
Mm-hmm.
an epidemic, we want to do more things that we can to let you know that it's there, but also what are some things that you can do to prevent it from occurring. Now, some people would ask, just as you did for me, why would anyone stay in the situation for an extended period
Right.
of time? Because it is true, if you're hit one time, you'll be hit again. That's
That's a
fact.
reality.
That's a reality. That is a reality. And it's up to that person. No one person can say, yes, I'll leave, or no, I will not leave. It's a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
You really have to look at everything on a case-by-case basis. Some women may say, well, I'm going to stay because I have children involved.
Okay.
Someone else may say, well, I'm going to stay because I don't have anywhere else to go. Someone else may say, what am I supposed to do? They take care of all of the bills. I don't have a job. They just don't know what to do, how to do it next. How will they support themselves? That's one of the biggest questions that people may have. So finances. The other thing is hope. Some people just have the hope, faith, and belief that the other person will change.
Okay.
That's a strong belief, and especially if for the married individuals, this happens to people. You don't have to be married to experience domestic violence. You could just be in high school dating
Right.
someone to experience domestic violence. So it's happening to our teens as early as middle school, and it's happening to adult women any age. I've recently met and have worked with an elderly woman in her late 70s that has experienced domestic violence for years.
Wow.
Years, decades.
Let me interject too, because you said a whole lot, and I believe that this could probably go for 3 or 4 hours, especially if callers started calling it and chiming in.
Yes.
Those people who have actually experienced domestic violence. Again, the caller number is 470-251-4343 here at Status Network, Atlanta, Georgia. Domestic. Years ago, when you thought about the word domestic, it seemed to be most of the time physical, but it's not always physical.
That's
now,
right.
me, I personally have a problem of verbalness. If you're fussing or cussing me out, I can't be around you in a relationship. So that right there would be my cue to figure away how to get out
That's right.
of that. Been there before,
Yes.
but I refuse to stay in something like that. Why do you think, in addition to what you said, you said that the person could be the main breadwinner, the house and the bills could be in that person's names. If they're married, they could be worried about losing their relationship.
Yes.
Not just losing their relationship, but worried about what family and friends may say.
Yes.
Because some family and friends may not know, and those that do know may have been saying, you know what, stick in there a little bit more. And then you have the ones who didn't ask to come here, or the
That's right.
children. You have the children caught up in this, and the children are watching mommy and daddy argue, fussing, and fighting, having temper tantrums, sleeping upstairs, downstairs, garage, on this. And then alcohol or drugs could come in there too.
Yes.
So with all of that being said, I know some folks who have actually lived it and said how hard it was to get out. Whereas though me, years ago, not knowing the specifics of it, so you can just walk away. But it's not that easy, I'm saying. I've seen talk shows on NBC, ABC, CBS, where people talk about that. And you may have a host that don't understand it. and say, well, you can walk away from it. And no, it's not that easy. You know, and like I said, factoring all that information there with all types of abuse and putting you down, because
Right.
putting you down, your self-esteem to me is another one too, because
Oh,
it's
yes.
psychologically,
Exactly.
mentally, and emotionally. To me, those three will remain with you longer.
Exactly. So let's go through the different and various forms of
Okay.
abuse. You have physical,
Okay.
mental, verbal, spiritual, and financial abuse. Those are at least 5 different types or forms of abuse. And if you combine all of them, you have a pretty big problem
Mm-hmm.
when you have to combine all of them.
Okay.
But you consider the dating scenario. You usually end up having a whirlwind romance, as I did,
Mhm.
and you end up having, someone that's going to sweep you off of your feet and
That's
treat
that
you
prince,
like an
king.
absolute queen or
Mhm.
king, and you're going to have rose petals laid before you as before you step foot on the ground, and you're going to have an opportunity to go on shopping sprees and be filled with lots of joy and happiness during the honeymoon or dating phase.
Mhm.
But then when that first blow comes, and I can give you an example, the first time my ex-husband hit me, he headbutted me 3 times on the side of I-95 as we were traveling north to Virginia.
Okay.
And in that, he frightened me. I was afraid, and I did not know which way to turn. And that was early on. We just gotten married, and I didn't know what I should do at that point. You know, I didn't know, because I thought it was my fault. I thought that it was something that I did wrong. So I did what I could to correct or fix it,
Okay.
because things just turned so dramatic. Because before that time, that was me, the one that experienced all of the romance and
Okay.
all of the special love, all of the extra things that
Okay.
I was gaining that I had not experienced before in any other relationship. So I absolutely felt loved.
Okay.
I was in love. And of course, I felt that he felt the same towards me because of the way he treated me.
Why would you? Sorry, to cut you off. If he headbutted you 3 times, why would you think it was your fault? Because there's somebody out there listening.
Great question. That's
Somebody
a
out
great
there
question.
listening to this right now.
That's right.
That's going through this exact same thing.
I
And
thought,
what you saying could really help her out.
yes,
Him too,
yes,
but we're focusing on her because you're a female and you're
Yes.
telling your story.
yes,
Somebody's out there may not just gotten hit, but may have gotten punched
yes,
and say it's her fault.
yes.
Why
Right.
did you think it was your fault?
I thought it was my fault because I was nagging him. I was absolutely nagging him, and I was in his face for a good 30 minutes.
While driving.
Yes.
Okay.
We had gotten into an argument. It doesn't matter. He started the argument, but that's neither here nor there for
Right.
what we're discussing.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, I became upset. I was already upset when the argument began. So I blew up. The inside of me rose up, and I got all excited and upset over what was going on, and I decided to say whatever I had to say with no filter. I was very blunt.
Vocal.
Very, very vocal, very blunt with my words, and shared what was on my mind with him at the time. I didn't hold back with anything, and I was in his face. I was physically in his face. I was pointing my finger in his face, and at one point I hit his weak spot, or a spot, his trigger point.
Okay.
Okay, and that's when he politely pulled the car over to the side of the road, and that's when I experienced the headbutting. But of course, I blame myself because I didn't feel as though I was treating him the way a man would want to be treated.
Okay.
And no man wants to have his woman in his face like that, not nagging him, or definitely not putting our finger in his, towards his temple, and being just as feisty or physically with him as he would or potentially would be with another person.
How long did that go on?
How long did the abuse? The abuse lasted for 2 years.
And in that 2 years, were you ever in denial, repeating yourself, saying that it's my fault, it's my fault?
Absolutely. So during the initial period, or that first year, I was I did what I could to appease him. So I altered a lot of the things that I was doing. So, of course, again, because I was blaming myself, I looked at myself and tried to put myself in his shoes and consider his feelings and his thoughts on the things that I was doing. So I modified everything that I was doing during that first year. So by the end of the first year, I was a well-trained person.
According to
his standards.
Okay.
I was well-trained. Being that I knew exactly what he wanted, when he wanted. I knew his schedule, when he was coming home, what he was going to want to eat throughout the week, what he would not want to eat, and definitely what he didn't like.
So then you went from wife to servant.
Correct. I went to a very vocal wife, saying all the things that was on my mind and speaking my mind with no problem, to the opposite, the complete and total opposite. Just like you said, to more of a servant versus a wife.
By the time I get home, this need to be ready.
Correct.
My bathroom need to be ready. I need my shoes at a certain place.
Correct.
And you make sure the trash is taken out. The dishes better be cleaned. The whole 9 yards.
Color purple.
And you were just frightful.
Yes, Whoopi Goldberg's portrayal of an abused wife was me. That's how I lived for at least the first year. But just as Whoopi did towards the end of that first year, she got a little feisty. She got a little more energy in her to free herself from the situation, and also to free her mind. She felt a lot more empowered on her own cognizance. And that was one of the things. After the first year, I was able to not just feel a little more empowered. That's just when I realized I've changed myself. I've made all these modifications, but I still can't win, because nothing I do is making you happy. You have the perfect meal here. I'm not going to make a Patti LaBelle pie. I'm not going to be the best cook. I'm not going to be the best but I know that I cook very well. And for you to tell me, hey, I don't like this, you're just trying to say something to me to make me feel weaker in my mind than I actually am. Or there's always something wrong. The home is spotless, but there's still something wrong. You may see a little piece of film or something on the mirror that is irritable to you. So it's an issue with this. It's an issue with any and everything.
Did you reach out to family and friends, or you just want to just keep it to yourself?
No.
You was too embarrassed.
No one knew anything. I wouldn't share that with anyone. I wouldn't tell anyone. No one knew anything. So for 2 years, I put up with it, and I would hide bruises covering my body from head to toe. And I wouldn't dare say a word to anyone, because I was absolutely embarrassed, and I was in shock. A lot of it was shock, just to know, hey, I was shocked. I couldn't believe that me, found myself in that situation. And I wasn't financially dependent on him. And I think that was probably one of the bigger psychological things that went on, because I didn't depend on him, and I could walk away at any moment. Financially, I wouldn't have to worry about any, where would my source of income be, or how would I take care of my child. It was more of the tying or the covenant that was made for marriage that made it difficult for me to leave.
Got you.
So the minister that married us gave us a charge. He said to us, if you do not, after we were married, he said that not to get divorced, basically.
Right.
And that if we did, we would have been the first and only couple out of all of the couples that he married to get a divorce. So if we were to get a divorce, that's a pretty heavy charge, and that stayed on my mind. It's like I wanted to leave, but that always stayed on my mind because of the covenant that we made, and we stood before God and said that we were going to stay together forever. That's the biggest and the biggest reason of why I stayed for the length of time that I did. And just imagine, now I know that there are women, as the elderly woman I was mentioned earlier, she is decades in, decades. But that's perhaps one of the reasons she won't leave as well. And at this point, she doesn't know what to do.
Ooh, yeah, being 70 years, yes. What was your ultimate final last straw? Enough is enough. What did that do? When did that come about? And how did you get the strength to just up and just leave?
Wow. So I ended up in the hospital as a result of the abuse, and I was left blinded for over 2 weeks. So not being able to see, that kind of make a person not want to go back to someone.
Right.
I left and went and escaped to my mother's house with my son in tow, and decided that I just needed a break. But one of the things that people would have to realize is that because it's a mental and psychological and a verbal thing, and the state of the emotional state that I was in at the time, I thought I was going back.
Okay.
I thought I just needed a break. I thought I just needed a break from him for a little bit of time. I thought, okay, maybe after I heal, I can go back. And that's just the mind. That's where my mind was at the time. Because again, you're married. You're not supposed to get divorced.
Right.
That's what I thought.
You ain't supposed to.
Right. That's what I thought. So I thought I was just taking a break. But the more time that I spent away, the more I was allowed to detox myself from all of the negativity, all of the emotional, all of the harsh words, all of the bullying that I experienced. And my son as well. We were able to minimize the approach taken towards us to put us in a controlled situation and put us in a box. We were able to break free, break away, and pour in more love, more support from, of course, my mother and my other family members at the time. They were able to pour more positivity into our daily situation, and being away, we were not in that controlled environment anymore. So it made it a little easier. My thoughts became a lot more clear. My mindset became a lot less devoured and more empowered, as my cousin Keith L. Brown would say.
How old was your son when this was going on?
He was in kindergarten, so 5 and 6 years old.
I'll tell you why I asked that question, because he has been no doubt affected.
Yes.
You had a great dad in your life.
Yes.
He had a father that did things and in his eyesight left a bad taste. How are you, or have you been, letting him know that all fathers are not like that?
Wow, that's a great question. And one of the things that I put in front of him are more positive male role models. He sees it in other parents. It's not in my immediate home. However, I have brothers. I have uncles. I have friends that we surround ourselves that have positive impact on him.
Okay.
And I seek and I search for things because some women may feel as though they can, they don't need a man to train their children. And that's everyone has an
Own
opinion.
yeah.
For me, for my house and for my son, I choose to surround him with more positive male role models, and I go out to seek and find more positive male role models because, in my opinion, I cannot give him the things that a man can. I can show him different things, but there are still some things that, for me, a woman cannot show a man, and vice versa. Certain things that a man cannot show a woman. I don't care how sensitive a man is to his daughters, he'll never be able to bear a child.
No, I've told mine the same. Excuse me for cutting you off. I've told mine the same thing. I said, sweetheart, I could listen to y'all.
Yes.
And then come time of month, I could give you some tea, some Midol. I could talk to you, but I do not know them. I do not know those pains that you go through.
You had not experienced this pain.
How far do you live from Decatur?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I'm new to the area.
It's a friend of mine who I've met about a year ago. As a matter of fact, I was honored at an event that he gave.
Okay.
And he has a mentorship program, Destined for Greatness. His name is James K. Lyles, and I met him through a friend, Teresa Bones. She's from Baltimore, but she lives in Duluth. James have a mentor program, and after we get off air, try to connect you two together.
That would be wonderful.
His foundation is growing. I believe this is their 8th year. They just did a back to school drive, I believe, and it just has some more mentees and mentors to come through there. And that may be something extra for you for your son. The reason I posed that question about is he being surrounded by guys, more say because I don't want him to think that all fathers are like that.
That's right.
Because all fathers are not like that. Start with your father, and because he could go through life thinking, hello, hold on, we have a caller. Hello, caller.
Hi, Nelson. It's Lisa. How are you?
Hi, Lisa. I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Doing wonderful. I was on my way home, and I caught the show, and I wanted to call in to commend the young lady that is there.
Thank
Being
you.
a domestic violence victim is never easy. I myself am a survivor. So I commend you for having the courage to talk about what has taken place in your life and how it has changed you.
Bless you, sis. Bless you. And thank you for
You
taking the
are
time
welcome.
to call in and share that. We shared earlier that it's 1 in 4 women that are impacted by domestic violence. And that's one of the things that I've been charged with is to share my story and be as vocal about it as I can, and also to help other women and men and children to know that there is definitely life after the storm.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I was married for 12 years,
Wow.
and out of those 12 years, 5 of them spent being abused.
Wow.
And I had that same theory that you had about not wanting to be divorced. Wasn't raised in the same house with my father, although my father was a very active participant in my life as well as my stepfather. So I didn't want my children to be without their father. But as time went on and things started to change within them, I had to make that decision to do what was best for them and to make them happy rather than making myself happy or continue to live in misery. So I changed that, and I was able to speak out about it. At a church that I was attending, I was able to speak out about it. And it empowered me a little bit more over the years as I started to open up and embrace the fact that I am a survivor, because there are a lot of women that don't survive.
That's right.
Being in a domestic violence relationship.
That's right. And well, we thank and praise God for your still being here and having the opportunity to go back and give back to your community, and also definitely first and foremost to your children. So we really appreciate anyone that has gone through as a survivor that comes back to be an advocate for those women that feel that they cannot and they have no voice. We are their voice. So we have to speak up and speak out and continue to say no more to this epidemic that's going on here across the world. It's all
Yes,
over the world. It's not just in America, but all over the world.
that
So
is so
again,
true.
Lisa, thank you so much for calling and sharing that story with us.
Of course,
Thank
of
you,
course.
Lisa.
You're welcome. God bless you.
Bless you.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Interesting. We have about a little over 12 minutes. I'm going to let Ms. V give you a little bit more information about the organization that she is part of. You're the founder, right?
That
She is
is
the
correct.
founder of the organization, and going to talk a little bit about her upcoming book, and then I'm going to close out. Again, the call number is 470-251-4343. I still have those online books, 7 Words You Should Know, Dad's Advice for the Journey Ahead.
Yes. Nice. Well, to give you a little more information about my nonprofit, the name of the nonprofit is Shifted Masterpiece Incorporated. We're a 501c3 approved organization. We are, Mr. Moody, we are approaching our 1-year anniversary.
All right.
So we're really excited about that. The 1 year will be in August. On August 11th, we're also celebrating my birthday,
Leo's in the house.
which is also our Founders Day for Shifted Masterpiece Incorporated. And what we're going to do to celebrate our 1 year of service is have a party. Who else is going to? That's what you're supposed to do, is have a great big party. We have our open mic every first Saturday. We actually host an open mic. But for the month of August, we're doing it on the second Saturday, which actually falls on the 11th of August. So from 7:30 to 10 p.m., we'll be at A Taste of Paradise, located in Lilburn, Georgia. It's 4805 Lawrenceville Highway, Lilburn, Georgia, and it's at A Taste of Paradise Jamaican restaurant, where we'll have our open mic activity. So again, anyone that's ever attended any of our open mic events, I would be honored to have you come back to the show
Hold on
and
for 1
perform
minute.
for us. All
We
right,
have a
we have
caller.
another caller.
Good evening, caller.
Hey, how you doing, Mr. Nelson?
I am wonderful. Who am I talking to?
This Carlos Grown Man Porter. I want to say congratulations to you and Miss V.
Thank
Y'all
you,
doing your
sir.
thing. I'm watching.
Bless you.
Thank you. Met you the other day at the meet and greet.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm
Yes,
watching.
sir.
I'm showing love to my my Status Network family and Live TV.
All right,
Thank you,
Mr.
sir.
Carlos. Thank you.
Y'all
Bless
keep doing
you.
your thing.
We are, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
That's awesome.
Yes, it is.
Yes,
Yes, it is.
Mr. Carlos. We love your show, Mr. Carlos.
So you got about a minute or two left.
Okay, so the last thing I wanted to share before we got away is, one, please come and support us at our open mic August 11th, 7:30 to 10 at A Taste of Paradise, Lilburn, Georgia. And the next thing that I wanted to share is just a little information about the book. The book is ready for pre-orders. If you would please go on and purchase a book from me. The website you can go to make your orders is www.bit.ly.com/shiftedmasterpiece, and that's spelled SHIFTEDMASTERPIECE. Again, www.bit.ly.com/shiftedmasterpiece. Masterpiece. And that's where you can go on to purchase the book. The book is $25, and that includes shipping. Where else can you go for it to include shipping? And it's a great read. It's a quick and great read, and I appreciate any and all orders for that. To learn any more information about the nonprofit, you can go to www.shiftedmasterpiece.org. Learn more information about me. You can reach me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and what's the other one?
LinkedIn.
And it's V Speak Life across the board. And also tune into my TV show. It's also featured here, right here on live TV on a Status Network. And it's the Speak Life show, where we speak life and not strife. And again, I am V Speak Life, and I want to remind everyone that is watching to speak more life. Because the more you speak life, the more positive things will be made manifest in your life. Again, that's V Speak Life, reminding you to speak life and not strife. And you can also contact me on any one of those platforms for a shirt that says Speak Life,
All right.
not strife.
I like that. I just want to make this correction because somebody may do the wrong thing. V is VEE, right?
VEE.
Not just the letter V. VEE.
It's VEE.
Right. I want to give you a little small token of my appreciation for you being on my show. It's a journal with some ink pens
Thank you
for
so
you to start
much.
your second book.
Thank you. Third
That's
book.
what you.
The second one
excuse
is
me.
already in the works, but third book.
Third book.
Thank you.
Y'all know I love authors because I am one also myself.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You're quite welcome. If you know a dad and like to see him on International Fathers, send a 350-word essay on why he should be on here, a short bio, along with your contact information to NelsonMoodysenior@gmail.com. That's NELSONLMOODYSR@gmail.com. If you want to see him on International Fathers, that's wherever you want to come. He could be an in-studio guest, or we can Skype him in from Europe, Germany. I hope we can Skype him that far. My producer think y'all like me, so I guess we can. But we can Skype you in, and you'll be like you're just right here in Status Network here in Atlanta, Georgia. Again, you know, I'm going to say at the end of my shows, which is very profound to me, which is a very, very personal issue to me. Fathers, call those children. And children, call those fathers. Fathers, hug those children. And children, hug those fathers. Until next time.